Soundstripe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mortgage and Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by the Pinnacle Loans. My name is Chris Giannino, and I am joined here with my brother, Pete Giannino. And today, we are going to talk to you about a real estate opportunity for young adults, for real estate agents, for parents of college kids, for parents of college-age kids. So parents, I hope you're listening. You can buy a home with your child, even if they don't have any income. And this presents for an amazing opportunity. So that's what we will be discussing today. Pete, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself and we'll get into it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I really do hope the parents are listening because I'm sure the kids are not listening. But Chris, my brother, as he always likes to tell people from the exact same mother, is here today with me at our place, the farmhouse. We don't have any livestock, we don't have any crops, but we have a farm. I don't know why the hell we have a farm. We have a farm. We bought dirt. So here we are. I am a licensed real estate attorney and mortgage professional. I'm teamed up with my brother and my brother-in-law so that we could do this thing called Pinnacle Loans. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing this thing called Pinnacle Loans. Me, Chris, Bill, a couple other guys, having a great time.
Well, I tell you what, it's not the most beautiful day there ever was, but once I get close to this 16 acres out here, which isn't the biggest piece of land, but I come from the city of St. Louis, so this is a nice getaway for me. Once I hit Melrose Road out in Wildwood, everything starts to just, I don't know, I get a smile on my face and I get relaxed. And that's where we're doing this podcast from today. But this is it's a great piece of real estate for us. I mean, for us, it's a family gathering place, but we can also use it and plan on using it as an Airbnb at some point. It could be used for, I know my brother Pete, his daughter is graduating from high school this year and she'll be going into college. And we're going to have a graduation party here in a few months, which we're really looking forward to. But I'll tell you what, that goes right into our topic for today. College students, this is not only for college students, but it does make a lot of sense when we combine it with a college age student, because this gets college students off on the right foot when they're going to college. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about a real estate opportunity with minimal investment to set your child off on the right foot when they do go to college.
When I hear the phrase real estate opportunity, I get skeptical. I start thinking late night television, infomercials. Real estate opportunity. What we're talking about is a real estate opportunity. A little different. You notice the subtle difference there? What this is, you're going to be paying for real estate anyway. You just are now going to do it this way through ownership. When kids go to college, they need a place to live. You, as the parent, generally pay for that place to live in the form of a dorm, a broken down house that you pay rent to, some kind of apartment that you're not really impressed with. And when you walk away, all you have is proof that you paid rent, proof that you paid the room and board fees, and nothing else. So the opportunity we're talking about is for you to own what you're paying for. And hopefully, if you do it right, get it paid for by someone else. That's the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think the reason that we're relating this opportunity when we think about our kids being college age and going to college, if they in fact go that route, is because when you think about the college, like you said, room and board is just a part of it. I mean, my experience was I had many different roommates, and I had stayed in the dorm. I had stayed in a 2-family duplex. I had stayed in a single family home. and I stayed in an apartment and probably a couple other places, including a few couches. But if you're already going to go to college and pay for room and board, you might as well own it. And how can you own it with the absolute most attractive terms? What do I need to know to make this happen so that when my son or daughter graduates from college, they have equity in a home, they had someone else pay their mortgage, and they had a place to stay? What needs to happen?
Yeah, right now we're looking. So just to back up one step and to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, when you go to college, most four-year institutions are going to have some kind of annual fee for housing. That fee varies. You know, it's all over the board because the price of college is all over the board. But it can be the housing cost might be $10,000 per year, could be up to $20,000 per year or more. So if you pay that over 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, or more, heck, I know some kids go to college for 7 years. And that might be just for housing. That bill could be over $100,000 and very likely is at least $50,000, even in a 4-year college. So we're talking about a way to replace that expense with a purchase. So back to Chris's question. What do we need to know to make this happen? We're talking about an opportunity called a purchase by a non-occupying co-borrower. The purchasers, the buyers in this transaction are the child, the student, and a parent or parents.
So, okay, Pete. So say I'm a parent and I say to myself, okay, my kid's going off to college, or they're just 18, they're moving out of the house. And I want to buy an investment property so that my kid could pay me rent. My kid and his friends could pay me rent. Why wouldn't I? What's different between what you're talking about and me just doing that?
First of all, Chris, great idea what you're coming up with. I think as a parent, buying an investment property, giving your kid a place to live and get rent payments, great idea. The problem with it is, or let me say, one of the restrictions is that the minimum down payment required for that type of investment property purchase is at least 15% and sometimes up to 25% of the purchase price. That is available and it's an opportunity, but what the difference between that opportunity and the one we're talking about is that in our situation today, we're talking about a primary home for your child. If it's a primary home for your child and your child is a borrower on the loan, a minimum down payment of 3 to 5% is available as compared to 15 to 25%. So that is the attraction. That is one of the attractions of this situation compared to a traditional investment property purchase.
Okay, so yeah, you bring up a good point, because when I do think of investment, I do think of what is my initial cost for an investment, and then what is my return on that investment. So obviously, if I'm putting down 20% on a home, I'm taking on a much more risk than if I was just putting down 3 or 5% as an initial investment on a home. Not only that, but I believe that, well, I know that investment properties, since they are more risk, not only do they require a larger down payment, but they also have significantly higher interest rates that are charged on those loans. So what we are discussing is a way to purchase a primary residence with your child for 3 to 5% down payment, along with the most attractive interest rates on the market while charging rent to roommates. Because ultimately, my experience was me and my roommates, when I was in college, we would figure out what the rent was and we would pool our money and pay equal amounts every month. So if you don't own the property, then you're paying rent to somebody else's property. Interest rates are very attractive right now, and we all know one thing to be true, that if you are paying rent, you're paying 100% interest on that property and gaining no equity. But if you are collecting rent, someone else is paying for your mortgage and you're paying the most attractive rates because you bought it as a primary residence. So there's lots of opportunities for this. I can't think of a better way to get started in life as a young adult, to graduate with equity in a home as opposed to hundreds of thousands in student loan debt, which is what the majority of people are graduating with, or not graduating with, but still went to college.
Yeah, and let's just be clear. We understand that the parents have a primary home. We're talking about a primary home for the child. So the parents are just a co-borrower for the child's home. In order for it to be a primary residence for the child has to be on the loan, so to speak. That doesn't mean they're going to make all the payments. Probably not going to make many of the payments. You are still going to make the payments, and we'll break that down. But let me just give this one more plug using real numbers. So we talked about down payment, and if we let's be conservative and talk about a 5% down payment on a $300,000 house. That's $15,000 to purchase this home, this hypothetical home. But if you are paying for room and board in college, it could be $15,000 or more for 1 year of rent. That's very possible. And so for 1 year of college dormitory rent, you could have made your down payment for a new home. That's how simple the opportunity is. We're going to talk about how to get there next, but let's be aware that this can be achieved with the money that you're already taking out of your pocket. So we talked about the down payment, and we also alluded to the fact that the kid needs to be on the loan. So how do we get an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old, how do we get a 17 or 18-year-old on a loan, Chris?
Right. You're thinking, well, they don't have credit, they don't have income, and they may or may not have the down payment money for a house. So there's 4 main steps that need to take place to make this work. Okay. The first thing is both borrowers, meaning the son or daughter, and the parent need a credit score. Well, typically 17, 16, 18-year-olds may or may not have a credit score. My experience with that was my first week in college. There was a credit card company in the dorm signing people up left and right. Everybody was approved. You start using the credit card. I had an unbelievable time in Las Vegas with mine initially, so I think that was definitely money well spent. Because I'm sorry, I got lost. I was thinking about that trip for a minute. It was a great trip. That's how I established credit, good or bad. You learn your lessons. You move on. You make your payments. You max it out. You pay it down. A lot of great lessons to be learned by. Or you could skip that step and use a cheat code to establish credit very quickly, and that's become an authorized user on your parent's account. Or if parents are listening, you have your son become an authorized user on an American Express card you have, or any credit card you have. You add them on as a authorized user, and within 2 to 6 months, they'll have a credit score. And as long as you made your payments, it should be a good one. How did you establish credit, Pete? I know you were over there in Vanderbilt, Missouri, or Vanderbilt,
Tennessee,
in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, similar.
Wasn't a cheap school. I'm sure you were trying
No,
to cut some cost here and there.
absolutely. I attended Vanderbilt and walked into Nashville with a couple $100, and as soon as my parents hit the road, I knew that wasn't enough, and how was I going to get the clothes that were required at Vanderbilt? And so I found the J. Crew catalog in the mailroom back when there were mailrooms and back when there were catalogs, and 15 minutes after my parents were gone, I was an applicant for J. Crew. And
smart.
Yeah, very smart. So, ended up with a couple worn, faded long sleeve tees and a couple flannel shirts. But those things last forever. So again, not great for my credit, but it seemed like a good investment at the time.
And I think you're wearing one of them right now.
That's so nice of you to notice.
Yeah, so that was there's different options to get credit, but the authorized user is a great option. So we think ahead a little bit. We establish credit. So now all of a sudden, your son or daughter has a credit score. All right. The next step is what?
Well, we talked about credit. We talked about down payment. We alluded to down payment, but that is the other thing we have to be prepared to take care of. And that down payment, again, is going to be 3 to 5% at a minimum. And that's an attractive feature because, again, we're talking about a primary home purchase. That money needs to be from you or from your son or daughter, but let's assume it's from you. And if you don't have it in the bank, which is certainly possible, we can look at other opportunities, whether it's a 401k, drawing it from your retirement fund, whether it's getting a line of credit on your existing home. There's a number of ways to get that. But if you're prepared to go to college, you probably have the money somewhere in the bank, perhaps. But that's where that money's going to come from.
Okay, so we establish credit for our son and daughter. We make sure that we have a down payment, which would be the 3 or 5% for the purchase of the home. And what would be the next requirement?
Well, so assuming we have those things taken care of, we then have to show that we can afford the home. And we assume that, and so we call that category qualifying income. We got to see what income we can use to pay for the mortgage. And we are looking at the income that you have compared to the debts that you have, the liabilities, things that would appear on your credit report. So those things, for example, might include a mortgage on your existing home, a car payment, a credit card payment, things like that. So and then we got to anticipate the new mortgage for the property that you're buying for the university housing. So if we lump all those liabilities together and we compare it to your gross monthly income, we are striving for a ratio of approximately 45%. Anything lower is better, but up to 45 to 50% is the threshold. So again, just to use real numbers, we could consider your current mortgage payment is $2,000. Maybe you have a car payment that's $500 and a couple other bills that equal $500 per month. So there's $3,000 in liabilities. And then the new mortgage is, we'll say, another $2,000. So we have a total of $5,000 in liabilities. So we want to see gross monthly income, which is approximately $10,000 or more. That makes that ratio 50% or less.
So what about my son or daughter, say they don't have any income when they go to school? So how are they going to qualify? I mean, they might have income. Maybe, there's some interesting jobs that people have had in college that might not show up on their tax returns. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we'll say
plasma
that's the
donation
case.
is not a job.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, well.
No, it's a great question because the key to this type of transaction is that the child does, I keep saying child, but we're talking about 18-year-olds, but that individual does need to be a borrower on the loan in order for this to work. But So we need to use their credit, but we do not have to use any income from that individual as long as the parent has sufficient qualifying income. So it's great if they happen to be one of those unique unique teenagers who goes to school full time and works full time, and we can use some of that income. But that's not what we anticipate. We would anticipate all of the income coming from the parent.
Okay, so we both need to have a credit score, which we talked about how to establish that. You need money for the down payment and for the closing costs. So that has been established. Now we have determined that there is qualifying income that would allow for this purchase to take place. And what's the fourth thing that needs to happen?
Again, the fourth thing is not necessarily related to the loan, but it is related to the opportunity. And that fourth thing is you need to have a likable kid who can attract reasonable roommates. And those roommates hopefully will be paying rent, because they would otherwise, of course, have to pay rent to someone for housing. And now they get to live in your house. And, we can, again, we used a hypothetical number of perhaps $2,000 for the mortgage, just a hypothetical, but that could go a fairly long way, $2,000 mortgage payment. And if your son or daughter has 3 roommates, each paying, I'm talking about low numbers, but each paying $700 per month, that's $2,100 in rental payments collected, and your mortgage is only $2,000. You've already, without even, dipping into the equity of your home, you already have a $100 monthly profit, which I'm sure the number would be higher based on current rental rates. But and your child is living essentially for free, because that $2,100 per month covers the entire mortgage payment plus their beer money.
I mean, I love this because when you're thinking about your son or daughter going to college, I mean, there's a lot of things that you have on your plate. You're getting everything packed up. You're trying to think about where they're going to live, who they're going to live with, what classes they're going to take, what they're going to get their degree in, when you're going to go visit. I love this opportunity because what it does is it's first of all, it's very achievable. Very achievable. They already need a place to live. This provides your son or daughter with a place to live, provides them with some entrepreneurial skills that are practical, that they can utilize immediately. They really don't have to do anything different. They're already living in the home. What they do need to do is make sure that they have responsible roommates, because that makes your job easier as a landlord. So, and then what happens is 4 years go by, or in my case 5, and many others that I know 7, 8, or 9 years go by. You've had somebody pay your mortgage, and your home is appreciating for all of that time. So as a parent, I'm thinking to myself, college is extremely expensive. I don't have $150,000 or $200,000 laying around necessarily to pay for your college tuition. And in this route, perhaps the student does take out some student loans. And after 5 or 10 years of owning this property, with the appreciated property and the amount of principal that was paid down by your roommates, now you're able to sell that house if you want, get the cash from it, and pay off your student loans. So as a parent, instead of paying $200,000, all I need to do is put a 5 or 3% down payment on a house and make an actual viable return that would essentially pay off the student loans for my son or daughter. I think it's a phenomenal idea that is utilized, but I would say it's underutilized.
Yep, it's replacing the payment of room and board for a payment into a savings account called a home.
What if you don't do it? If you don't do it, what happens?
Well, a couple things. One, someone else will, but more importantly, you will be paying 100% interest to some other landlord or university by simply paying rent. That's all. You might be paying 30 to $70,000, or like I said, some places maybe up to $100,000 for the duration of the college experience in simply rent, room and board. It's a big miss. Not only is it a chance for building equity, and generating income, but it's a vehicle for saving money. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think not only is this an opportunity for parents and an opportunity for the young adult, but I also think this is an opportunity for real estate professionals. I mean, as real estate professionals, we're on the lending side, but real estate professionals such as real estate agents, I think they have a real opportunity because they have large databases as well. And it's something to bring to the attention of their database of a practical opportunity that they may or may not have otherwise been aware of. You think about it right now, college tuition and student loans is a massive topic. Right now, we're in an environment where the student loan payments are such a weight on the students that the government has deferred payments for the past year and a half. You know what I mean? It's the only thing they've done that for. So this is a real issue, and this is a smart opportunity to take advantage of the real estate market. And you're really coming out of college. Let's just say, this normally doesn't happen, but occasionally there'll be a student that goes to college and ends up possibly partying a little bit more than they're going to class. Well, I see this as a true safety net where they actually have been able to bring some stability to it. They've actually been able to get some type of a return on this. But if you're a real entrepreneur and you're taking it serious, then you may have just started a new career for yourself.
Yeah, very few people can walk away from college with a degree and a deed to real estate.
And passive income.
Passive income.
Yeah. Tell me about. I mean, that's
unbelievable. And a little additional benefit is every year you don't have to rent a U-Haul. All the furniture can remain in the house if you're going home. If you're going to your actual home with your parents.
That's actually a huge benefit, Pete.
Yeah,
I mean, talk about making your life a lot easier.
What a hassle.
You can certainly do that. And if you do come home and you keep the place during the summers there, well, guess what? The thing's fully furnished. It could be an Airbnb.
Yep, and a place to stay. If you as the parent are coming to visit your child, going to an athletic event or something, you have a place to stay. Hopefully they can tolerate you for a night or two in the home, but save again another additional savings. No hotel costs, easy parking, etc.
All right, let's recap then. So, in order to utilize this non-occupying co-borrower loan option that we're talking about here, you are able to, instead of buying an investment property and putting down 15 to 25%, you're able to have an initial investment and down payment between 3 and 5%.
That is correct.
Your return is significantly higher than if you bought and used conventional investment financing because the interest rates on primary mortgages are at least 1 full point lower than they would be on an investment property.
Absolutely.
Your son or daughter is learning how to purchase real estate and now has a tangible financial asset that has equity, and they are leaving college on the right foot with money in hand as opposed to a massive amount of debt. Yep. And mom and dad came up with this option for them to help them do it, and were able to help their kids out. Instead of paying $200,000 in tuition, all they had to do was come up with 3 to 5% for a down payment. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's unbelievable. And I think the difference between somebody who does it and somebody who doesn't is simply pulling the trigger. That's why the rich get rich and the poor get poor. It's knowing, having the information, and then pulling the trigger. This is the information. The next step is to pull the trigger. If you need a real estate professional to help you with it, reach out to us. If you want to talk about the ins and outs of the financing portion, we could speak to that as well. And if you want to talk about how to set up the lease for the contract, or the contract for the lease, we can also provide you information on how to write that up.
Yep, you're already paying for it. We're just describing how to redirect your money into an investment.
Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Estate and Mortgage Podcast, brought to you by the Pinnacle Loans. We hope you got something out of it. We enjoyed being here, and we look forward to the next one. Talk to you soon.